Hello, it's your resident Gemini, Maria Rieger here, once again with another Positive Parenting with Astrology video. Today we're talking about how to connect with your Aquarius child. And I recommend, if you haven't done so already, that you review my video on how to parent Aquarius children, specifically Aquarius sun children. In that video, I give kind of a detailed explanation of all the innate traits and characteristics of the Aquarian child. Before we get into it, please like this video, please subscribe to the channel for more free, regular parenting content. So, how best to connect with your Aquarius child? Remember that Aquarius is a fixed sign and an air sign. So, as an air sign, like air, it can cover a great breadth of information. It covers a lot of ground, but rarely covers things in depth. Has the ability to cover just an enormous amount of ground, taking a lot of data, but doesn't always delve into detail like Scorpio would or like maybe Earth signs would. So that's one thing. It's a very detached sign. Aquarians consider things from a detached, logical, almost clinical point of view. That's a great trait to have because that means you can kind of get out of yourself and look at your emotions and think about your emotions and consider another person's point of view. It's different from fire signs. Fire signs are more ego-oriented. It's harder for fire signs to step out of themselves and put them in the shoes of someone else. Aquarius is also a social sign, a group-oriented sign. It's associated with the 11th house, which is the house of kind of society at large, groups, acquaintances, friends. So Aquarians need to be part of something larger than themselves. They need to be different in relation to the group. They define themselves and their identity in relation to the group. They need to be leading something and be a part of something bigger than themselves, but it's a very group-oriented sign. Okay, it's also a fixed sign, which can get interesting because Aquarius is considered to be by many the sign of the revolutionary. It's co-ruled by the planet Uranus, which is thought to be kind of a rule-breaking revolutionary planet. But being a fixed sign, Aquarians also tend to have more of a fixed mindset. They tend to be a little bit entrenched and fixed in their values and beliefs and opinions, which we'll get into. And we're going to actually do another specific video just on that topic. So, as we said, Aquarians like to be different in relation to the group. So, knowing all that about Aquarians, how to connect with your Aquarian child. And remember that connecting with them by doing these things forms a stronger parent-child relationship where the child knows that their wants, needs, opinions are important to you, the parent. They feel loved unconditionally and they feel accepted by the parents exactly as they are, even if their traits and values and ways of being are different from the parents. That's okay. The kids are not the parents. The kids are not equal to the parents. The kids are not extensions of the parents. They are their own sovereign beings. Very important point to remember. So, number one, allow your Aquarian child to experiment with different things and activities without forcing them to commit to something. Remember, the nature of air is to cover a great breadth of things and activities. Give your child, your Aquarius child, all these different experiences, introduce them to a bunch of different things and different topics, and later when they're older, you kind of step back and you let them decide what they want to pursue, what they want to do, and what they like. They need this breadth of experience. They like to be with their friends. They like to make plans with their friends. They typically don't like to do things alone. We'll get into that a little bit more in depth too. So you could tell them, for example, try this activity. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it again. I do that kind of with my son. He has a Gemini moon. In our next video on how to connect with your Gemini child, we'll talk about this. But I'll tell him, we're going to try this activity. He may express an opinion like, I don't know if I'm going to like it. And I'll tell him, well, that's okay. We're going to try and do it once. And if you don't like it, if you hate it, you don't have to do it again. So give your Aquarian child the freedom to try new things without making them commit to something long-term. Okay. It goes a long way to understanding the intrinsic nature of the Aquarian child. What else? Whatever your Aquarian child's current interest is, participate with them. If they want to try new activity, to the extent that you can, participate in the activity with them. Remember, it's a sign that does not like to do things on their own. They love it when parents get involved and do the activities with them. Whether the activity is drawing, writing, hiking, doing video games, whatever, watching a new TV show, do the activity with them. Remember that spending time with your child in a pressure-free way, just occupying the same space, just existing together, goes a long way toward creating that strong parent-child relationship. Okay. Also, this goes back to what we were talking about a little earlier. Do not criticize your Aquarian child for wanting to be part of a group or for liking to be with other people. This is actually something I've had to deal with myself. I'm a rugged individualist. I like to do a lot of things on my own, play video games on my own, things like that. So my son has a stellium in his 11th house, which is, we said, is the house associated with Aquarius. So when we say the chart holder has a stellium in a certain house, they have at least 3 planets in that house. So that being the house associated with Aquarius, the house of society at large, friends, acquaintances, social groups, he typically prefers to do things with other people. And I used to tell him, or think to myself, why do you prefer to do things with others? You can be complete and fulfilled on your own. You don't need to do things with other people all the time. But I came to the conclusion that to him, that was important. It was important to do those activities and share those experiences with other people. He had more fun doing things with his friends or with his parents than doing them alone. And that's just part of who he is, and that's okay. So please don't be negative and criticize your Aquarian child for wanting to do things with friends, for preferring the company of others to being alone. That's how they are, okay? Even if you, the parent, are not like that, that's how the Aquarius child is. Okay, what else? Right, so we talked about doing activities with your Aquarius child. Even if it's an activity that you, the parent, don't particularly care for, like watching a TV show you're not enthused about, or watching TV or drawing or playing with your child when you have a million other urgent things you need to do, remember that time spent with a child is never a waste. You're working toward building that relationship. And the point is not the activity. The point or the end goal here is to spend quality time with your child. And when the parent participates in an activity that the child likes, that says a lot, right? About you accepting the child's likes, opinions, personality, that what you're basically telling the child that what they value is important to you, the parent, and that is very important for the child's development and feeling good about the parent-child relationship and feeling unconditionally accepted. Okay. One other thing that I mentioned in my video on Aquarius children in general, do not criticize your Aquarius child for being too detached or emotionally cold. I see this all the time. Aquarian people are compared to aliens. Well, they're so logical and robotic that they don't have emotions. They do have emotions. They just don't always express their emotions. So do not criticize the child for being emotionally cold, because you are criticizing the child's intrinsic nature, and they will feel unvalued and even worthless, right? And you never want to make the child feel devalued for being how they are, because they really can't change that. They can mask it. They can hide their intrinsic personality, but they cannot change it. Okay. Instead, help your Aquarius child process and navigate emotions. Do not pressure them to open up emotionally to you. You tell them things like, you seem upset. Is there anything you'd like to talk about? Is there anything I could do for you? If they tell you no, let it go. Tell them, you can talk to me anytime about anything if you want, right? And you also teach them empathy by modeling empathy, by having empathy for the child. And you want to help them process emotions by letting them feel the emotion, identifying, naming the emotion, sitting with the emotion for a little bit, not dwelling on it, just kind of sitting with it for a little bit and letting it go. And Aquarians, like Geminis, both air signs, right? Aquarians are good at kind of clinically looking at their own emotions. And you could help them process the emotions by telling them, well, that's curious that you feel that way. I'm interested to know, I'm curious to know why you feel that way. They can explain it. They can identify the emotion, feel the emotion, process it, sit with it for a little bit, and let it go. That's the healthy way to deal with emotions. Okay. But always acknowledge their feelings. Don't assume they don't have feelings just because they don't talk about their feelings. It's a huge mistake I see in relationships in general. Okay. Okay. And the last, kind of the last big thing is, do not ever criticize them for being mentally scattered. Aquarians, like Geminis, are very mentally scattered. Air signs, air sign problem, very forgetful. And if you yell at the child for forgetting things, or for forgetting what they you told them 5 minutes ago, or forgetting to do something that you told them to do 10 minutes ago, they're going to feel terrible, and they're going to feel like there's something wrong with them, because they're not, chances are they're not being deliberately disobedient. They just forgot. That's how it is. It's in one ear and out the other, and they just forgot. And when you yell at them for being forgetful, which is how they are naturally, and this happened to me as a Gemini child, when you yell at them for being forgetful, you're yelling at them and criticizing them for their own intrinsic nature, and they will feel terrible and undervalued, and you don't want that, right? That doesn't make for raising an emotionally and psychologically healthy adult. So help them remember things. A big thing that has helped me and my son is you make lists. You give them a list to do. That way, when they forget, they can look at the list. They don't have to bother the parent 20 times. What'd you ask me to do? What'd you ask me to do again? So that's helpful. Write it down so they have something they can look at. But if you yell at them for forgetting or being mentally scattered, or call them a scatterbrain or other names, that's not going to help them remember better. It's just going to make them feel terrible about themselves and about the parent-child relationship, and it's going against you creating a stronger parent-child relationship where the child feels unconditionally accepted by the parents. So those are kind of the main things to connect with your Aquarius child. I wanted to give you some actionable tips you can do, and this is kind of a theme in all of my videos. Don't criticize the children for being how they are intrinsically. Help them manage their traits, right? If you have any questions, please comment below, and we'll be back next week. Thank you.